Morning, glory, America. Bonjour, hi, Canada. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Good morning on this Thursday morning. Most of my program is going to be devoted to the fact that Kamala Harris face planted in last night's interview with Stephanie Ruhle on MSNBC. It's like not being able to hit in double-A ball. She can't even hit the softballs at MSNBC. So it's 3 strikes and she's out. She flunked Dana Bash, she flunked Oprah Winfrey, and she flunked Stephanie Ruhle. To quote Abe Greenwald of Commentary Magazine, interviews are her kryptonite. And I'll go through it all. Let me give you a couple of very quick headlines, though. If you're in the Big Bend area of Florida, actually, if you're from Sarasota to Tampa, all the way over to Franklin County on the border with Alabama, you may want to retreat. Hurricane Helene is probably going to be a Category 4, probably coming ashore soon. And you do not want to be in its way. National Hurricane Center predicting a catastrophic and deadly storm surge. So get going. Next, Democratic Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, was indicted on federal charges yesterday. They're expected to be made public today. It's not really news when a Democrat gets indicted for corruption, but I thought I would tell you about it. And in an astonishing turn of events, which I hope to talk to Ambassador Orrin about, the Biden-Harris administration has announced it will no longer share intel with Israel about Lebanon. That hurts our ally Israel, it helps the terrorist Hezbollah, and it endangers Lebanese civilians. I do not understand it. It's bizarre, but the Biden-Harris administration has taken a very anti-Israel turn for the worse. It will get worse if somehow Harris pulls it out. But I think after last night, I don't think she's going to pull it out. We're going to do our best with guests Selena Zito and Nora Rothman and Charles C.W. Cook, Jim Talent, Josh Kroshauer, future Senator, West Virginia, Jim Justice, currently the governor, and others to explain to you what happened. But let's just begin with Stephanie Ruhle tossing a moderately easy-to-hit ball on tariffs and why Kamala Harris is so down on Donald Trump's tariffs, given the fact that the Biden administration uses them. Cut number 1.
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must be serious and have a plan.
One must be serious. You should see, if you're watching on the Salem News Channel, you'll see her face and you'll say, really? Serious? Cut number 2, more seriousness and more plans.
And one must be serious and have a plan, and a real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally, but actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment and what will be the economic impact on everyday people.
This return on investment is it's a feature, not a bug. She retreats to it whenever she doesn't have a clue what a tariff is. My conclusion. Then they move on to corporate taxes, and sit down if you are in the business of having a small business in your corporation, subchapter S, or you're a big corporation and you have shareholders and you're a shareholder in it. Sit down. Cut number 3.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share. I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share, and it is not right that the teachers and the firefighters that I meet every day across our country are paying a higher tax than the richest people in our country.
That's simply not true, but it doesn't much matter. You know that, I know that. What about how do you make them pay their fair share? Cut number 4.
But how do you find that line to make sure corporations are paying their fair share but they're not leaving our country.
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that the business leaders who are actually part of the engine of America's economy agree that people should pay their fair share. They also agree that when we look at a plan such as mine that is about investing in the middle class, investing in new industries, investing in bringing down costs, invest in entrepreneurs like small businesses, that the overall economy is stronger and everyone benefits.
You know, I just don't believe she can survive this one. It's just so vacuous. Cut number 5. She's lying about the jobs that she and Biden created versus Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump created 414,000 manufacturing jobs before COVID shuttered the economy on a state-by-state basis. Cut number 5.
Polling shows that most likely voters still think Donald Trump is better to handle the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, here's what I know in terms of the facts. Donald Trump left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression when you look at, for example, the employment numbers.
It was during COVID, and employment was so high because we shut down the government, we shut down the country.
Even before the pandemic, he lost manufacturing jobs by most people's estimates, at least 200,000. He lost manufacturing plants, ask the auto workers.
Yeah, this is so astonishing. She just made this up. She has just literally made this up. Donald Trump created 414,000 manufacturing jobs before COVID. And COVID isn't Donald Trump's fault. It's China's fault. Cut number 6, just a little tagline, just a little bit of blurry rhetoric from Kamala Harris. Cut number 6.
You know, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. You know, gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
Why is that? Because interest rates are 6.5% for homeowners buying a 30-year when Donald Trump had them in the 2s because you spent all the money in year 1 and year 2 that you didn't have and raised interest rates and unleashed inflation. Cut number 7.
Madam Vice President, you just laid out your economic vision for the future.
Yeah.
But still, there are lots of Americans who don't see themselves in your plans. For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. But we don't lack for those things. But not everyone, you know, gets handed stuff on a silver platter. And so my vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions, which include, for middle-class families, just being able to know that their hard work allows them to get ahead, right? I think we can't and we shouldn't aspire to have an economy that just allows people to get by. People want to do more than just get by. They want to get ahead. And I come from the middle class.
I come from the middle class. Drinking game is one. I got time for a couple of more. Let's talk about the promise that Joe Biden made and broke and the one she's going to make and break if she were to win, but she's not going to based on this. Cut number 8.
So, first of all, when it relates to anybody making less than $400,000 a year, your taxes will not go up. Your taxes will not go up. And in fact, under my plan, taxes for 100 million Americans will actually be cut, including $6,000 a year for young couples for the first year of their child's life in a tax cut, a tax credit, essentially, by expansion of the child tax credit. And why is that?
I didn't really understand the difference. One more quick cut, number 9.
Let's make sure that we create opportunities for everyone to grow wealth. I believe that it is not sufficient and it should not be our goal to just make sure everyone is working. That should be the baseline. That should be a given. And let's create an economy where people have the ability to buy a home, to start a business, to take a nice vacation from time to time, right?
There's nothing there, and there's more nothing coming your way because it was a lot of nothing. A lot of it echoes of the Oprah and the Dana Bash interview. A lot of it echoes the debate one-liners. She's got the bad jukebox going round the clock. 6 bad cuts. Come back with MacArthur's Park because, boy, it's raining in the park. Stay tuned. Someone left Kamala out in the rain. Welcome back. I'm Hugh Hewitt. That should be her theme song. I don't think I can take 40 more days of Kamala Harris. We can't take 4 years of her. Back to the interview last night. Reminder, in the debate, she said the CEO of Goldman Sachs had endorsed her plan. She does so again. Remember, the CEO of Goldman Sachs came out the day after and said that's not true. She doesn't care. She does it again. Cut number 10.
An agenda that includes tariffs to the point that the average working person will spend 20% more on everyday necessities and an estimated $4,000 more a year on those everyday necessities, to the point that top economists in our country, from Nobel laureates to people at Moody's and Goldman Sachs, have compared my plan with his and said my plan would grow the economy, his would shrink the economy. Some of them have actually assessed that his plan would increase inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year.
Okay, Goldman Sachs CEO said, no, we didn't say that. Not true. They're basically neutral. Cut 11.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars and looking holistically at the connection between that and housing and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing for working people.
She used holistically 3 times in one sentence. I doubt she has any clue what she's talking about. Indeed, I don't. I was a land use lawyer for 30 years. I have no idea what she's talking about. Cut number 12.
But not all unions have gotten behind you. I want to understand, when the Teamsters decided not to endorse you, what was their reasoning? What are they looking for?
Well, let me go back to our just previous conversation. I'm very proud to have the endorsement of the steelworkers and almost every other major union in America, because I stand by workers and I stand by the importance of being able to join a union and to understand the benefit and the value of unions. And I understand the importance of investing in new industries and working actively with the private sector to grow our economy.
But I'm asking because there's this idea we want something more from her. What is it?
Well, here's the thing, that back to your point about previous election cycles, Donald Trump made a whole lot of promises that he did not meet, and one would argue broke.
Did you hear her say Teamsters? The question was about the Teamsters. She cannot answer a question. It's very easy. I'm disappointed by the Teamsters. They do not seem to understand I am on their side and Donald Trump. I mean, I could do this better, pretending to be Kamala Harris. Cut number 13.
Prices are still high.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You said you want to take this on by going after those who engage in price gouging.
Yeah.
But as somebody who supports free markets, who's a capitalist, how do you go after price gouging without implementing price controls? Because once we get in this zone...
Do you notice that Stephanie's helping her here? You're not a communist. You're not a Marxist. Remember, you believe in free markets. I'm trying to help you out here. Keep going.
People start to get worried, and they say, I don't know what she stands for.
So, just to be very frank, I am never going to apologize for going after companies and corporations that take advantage of the desperation of the American people. And as Attorney General, I saw this happen. In the midst of an emergency, whether it be an extreme weather event or even the pandemic, we saw it, where those few companies, not the majority, not most, but those few companies that would take advantage of the desperation of people and jack up prices. Yeah, I'm going to go after them. Yes, I'm going to go after them. And that is part of a much more comprehensive plan on what we can do to bring down the cost of living, including housing, including the everyday needs of the American people.
There's a monster under the bed that's raising your prices and gouging. She can't answer this. Do I have time for cut 14? Okay, she said this 15 times on the campaign trail. Cut number 14, it makes no sense, but let's play it.
Includes also what we must do to cut red tape. You're absolutely right. It takes far too long, and there's too much bureaucracy associated with home building. And I say that as a devout public servant. I know that we have to reduce the red tape and speed up what we need to do around building. And that is going to require working from the federal level with state and local governments.
Please, God, please have somebody ask her which federal agencies are involved. I know them. I worked with them for 30 years. I know the state agencies in California she did nothing about. I know the local agencies that screw it up. She couldn't answer that question with a follow-up, but of course she didn't get one. Cutting red tape is not an answer.